So, fake death, done that. Disappear for a year, done that. Play in isolation, done that. And play more in isolation, done that. That's pretty much all my to-do list. Well, except for film the October Horrorfest, of course, but I mean, come on, that's not for another month. Ha! Hi Andy, it's time.
You have reached the voicemail
God
box
damn it!
of...
Hey, aren't you supposed to be dead? Why don't you just turn the fucking lights on?
Because it's time for the October Horrorfest.
Everyone is entitled to one good cheer.
Are you ready to watch some spooky films, Andy? Wait, Andy? Andy, where the hell are you? What the hell? Help me. Can only mean one thing. Nah, sure, I can wait. Well, since Andy's not here, that means the October Horrorfest is cancelled. So that only means one thing. Halloween Horrorfest.
Johnny!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the dark corner of YouTube, the scary side that is a really bad YouTube film critic channel. I'm so sorry for this. However, it is Xanderfaulk's Halloween Horrorfest. Today's spooktacular video is going to be about the videos and games that just get us in the Halloween spirit. Now I hope you're all sitting comfortably as I delve down into the deep, dark recesses of your nightmares and talk about the films and games that will scare the absolute pantaloons of us on this terrifying night. The first film I'm going to talk about is a film that you must absolutely have to watch on Halloween, and it is the anthology horror film that is Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is essentially an anthology film following various groups of people around a suburb at night as they deal and come across with what happens when you break the rules of Halloween and the various mythos, legends that surround the spooky night. This goes in ghosts, werewolves, curses, murderers, and all sorts of mythological beings. This film is actually really good. It is filled with a ridiculous amount of good scenes, good characters. It's scary and it perfectly captures the spirit of Halloween. I mean, the film takes place on Halloween, so there's always people running around in silly costumes. I mean, there's a heavy focus on pumpkins and the scary, dangerous side of Halloween. But this is definitely not for kids. It's scary, it's creepy, it has everything a horror film needs to be. It's even funny at points, and it kind of teaches you a few lessons that one should learn on the older aspects of Halloween. I mean, this is literally a genuine own for any person that's a fan of horror, and if you need to watch anything on Halloween, this needs to be at least one of them. I mean, Trick or Treat is absolutely fantastic horror film, and I highly recommend that you check this one out. Speaking of anthology films, we have the found footage anthology, that is the VHS movies. These films start off with a bunch of criminals pretty much getting tasked to try and steal these tapes from an old guy's house. However, when they get there and they watch these tapes, they find out that there's a bit more to this than meets the eye, and they all entail and entangle some spooky elements around them. You've got succubuses, you've got murders, you've got ghosts, you've got supernatural murderers, aliens. As a film, this one does tend to have some pacing issues, but again, the whole idea of the monsters and the amount of variety that these films have, they will get you perfectly in the mood for Halloween, and I highly recommend you check this out for a scary, spooky night. The same goes for VHS 2, and I actually personally think this is better in every regard. It's faster paced, it's more energetic. Death cults, monsters, aliens again, ghosts and zombies. I mean, this film literally has everything. I mean, if you enjoyed the first one, or you want to watch a horror anthology film that's good, trust me, well, it's Halloween, therefore, it must be Saw. As polarising as these films are, and whatever your opinion is on these films and how good they are, there's one thing that you can't deny, that Saw is eponymous for Halloween. It is absolutely regarded as a Halloween must. It became so popular during its release on Halloween that its tagline was, "It's Halloween, it must be Saw." And damn right, a film about a murderer that starts giving justice on his victims by, instead of killing them, putting them in heinous traps, and the only way to learn their lesson and truly survive is to make their way through the traps. I mean, what's more horrific and Halloweeny than that? I know people that love this series so much, and to be honest, I can understand that. They could be watching much worse.
Ah, my favourite horror collection. Saw 1. Fantastic. The fuck? What kind of sick game is this? It's a sick world living sick people. Not this one, please. No!
Speaking of creepy things, it's time to talk about the Child's Play movies. This film is literally every child's nightmare. A demonic, possessed, murderous toy with the spirit of a serial murderer who's hell-bent on trying to possess a small little child that just happens to be his owner. Trust me when I say that kids will not be having peaceful nights if you stick this on at the night. Now, for those that are curious, the films that I do have are the first Child's Play, the second Child's Play, Bride of Chucky, and Curse of Chucky. Why not 3 and Seed? Well, because those suck. These 4 are the good ones, and I highly recommend you check these out. However, for me, these movies aren't necessarily scary. I mean, I don't really find toys very creepy. I mean, I'm not going to find Mr. Big Bear over there terrifying at all in the slightest. I mean, isn't that right, Big Bear? Oh dear. It's okay, Big Bear. No need to run away and scare your owner. Who knew you could be so fucking terrifying? No more snuggles for you now, Big Bear. Now, before I go on to the next one, I have a question for you. What's your favourite scary movie? You've guessed it, it's Wes Craven's The Scream trilogy. Scream to me is the epitome of all things horror and Halloween. It is a film about a self-aware, self-referential serial killer that uses movie quotes and trivia to kind of get towards his victims and kills them, and even uses a Halloween costume, a very popular one at the time, to stalk his victims. I mean, look at that. That is a scary-ass mask, and I should know. I own it. Scream was one of the very first slasher series that I ever watched, and it's simply, for me, I absolutely love it. I love the fact that it never takes itself seriously, that it references countless classics and uses it to its advantage to create something that kind of subverts and mocks, criticises and pays homage to the genre at the very same time. And how iconic this face and this mask has become, that now a very popular Halloween item toy has become even more eponymous with the fact that it's now referred to as the Scream ghost face mask. And come on, it looks awesome, don't you agree? No? Personally, I'd be terrified if someone came down me at the hallways looking like this. Admittedly, the third is definitely the weakest in the trilogy. However, they made it up with the fourth one, which kind of mocked the idea that it was a reboot in the first place, and was a fairly good and consistent sequel. So I highly recommend you check that one out as well. Silent Hill is one I would recommend as well, and I know there'll be some of you out of there, some of the gamers that'll think, why don't you talk about the games? I mean, yeah, they are good, do not get me wrong, the games are absolutely fantastic. I recommend you play at least 1 to 4, they are the really good ones. The rest though are up to your own caution. In comparison to the original Silent Hill games, Silent Hill is probably one of the best video game to film adaptations put to screen. I mean, simply, yes, it doesn't follow the story per se of the cults and the rituals down to a T, but it gets the atmosphere and the themes right, and the atmosphere is the main aspect of why Silent Hill was scary. This film just oozes atmosphere, and yes, sometimes the script isn't very good. There are a couple of really hokey one-liners and some bad dialogue here and there, but it's just the absolute great atmosphere and set design. It captures the film perfectly, and therefore it's a good adaptation, but it just makes for the perfect candidate for a Halloween film, because it's literally a woman's journey to search for her daughter in the absolute depths of hell. I would highly recommend you check this out. Now, before I go on to the games, I'm just going to talk about a few unknown horror films. More specifically, you know, this small little film called Halloween. I mean, come on. I was not going to put this on this list. It's one of the first slasher films ever to be made. It is a staple in the slasher franchise because it literally or the slasher franchise in general. I mean, you wouldn't have films like Scream or Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th without Halloween. It relies on suspense and shadows, and the lighting in this film is just absolutely amazing. Yes, it's old, and sometimes the scenes that would be effective, like the jumps or the music, they are very dated, but I think that at least film fans and people that are fans of horror will learn to appreciate these films, or at least this film. Because Halloween, it's just an absolute classic. I mean, you cannot not include this on any Halloween or horror list. It's a classic. It's one of the first ones, and it's responsible for every other film since, so it has to be on this list regardless, and it's a good and effective film. However, it was also responsible for many, many sequels that in itself kind of caved into the modern slasher genre themselves. Halloween setting the standard, and then the further sequels trying to capitalise on what it bore itself, so each sequel kind of being more like what horror film was popular at the time. Now, the only two sequels that I think are worthy of keeping are pretty much the Laurie Strode trilogy, ignoring any of the ritual mythology of him being like possessed by demons or cults or whatever the hell it was. I tend to ignore them. It's pointless, and all of them are crap. So I recommend Halloween 2 and Halloween H2O. These three films make a perfect trilogy within themselves, and to be honest, I don't really see the need to watch any of the other ones, because this was the penultimate Halloween film, and Halloween Resurrection pretty much killed off every character that you wanted to care about and replaced it with a really crappy attempt at a found footage angle. And to be honest, in a kind of hilarious, humorous way, it had Busta Rhymes kicking Michael Myers out of a window. Talk about simplicity and subtlety. Fucker. Halloween 2 kind of followed the more modern slasher films at the time by being more gory and focusing on the nudity and kind of being a bit more exploitative than the original. And Halloween H2O kind of came out at the time that Scream was a very popular movie. So Halloween H2O is kind of Halloween and Michael Myers if it was infused and injected with the Scream trilogy. And I mean, it borrows a lot of the music and some of the techniques from the Scream films themselves. And that's not a bad thing, because to be honest, Scream was good, so it feels like a more modern, faster paced version and kind of like a modern representation of what Halloween would be like in the modern time, and it's actually good. Now, I mentioned that I would be talking about games as well. I won't be talking about these as much, but here are a few that I do want to talk about that will definitely get you in the Halloween spirit. The first one I want to talk about is, of course, Left 4 Dead. Now, Left 4 Dead is an online co-op shooter where you pretty much just have to survive the zombie apocalypse and kill lots of zombies on the way. But the whole idea of zombies is just absolutely great. I mean, it makes for great horror, and it makes for a great game to play on Halloween. Playing as friends, trying to survive and getting in that tense scenario of almost dying. It's an absolutely intense experience, and the mark of its quality is that it's made by Valve, who have never, and I repeat, and I will stand by this when I say that Valve have never made a bad game when they release one, if they release one. The next game on the list is the more recent Alien Isolation. Now, the reason why I'm going to include this on the Halloween list, while it's not as scary as other games, again, and I keep stressing this throughout the video, it was the atmosphere and gameplay. Taking what Outlast did for the horror genre and the whole idea of not being able to combat and fight your enemy, and taking away that, you know, that any aspect of defense and the only option being to run and hide, just creates a very terrifying game. Alien Isolation not only is a sequel to the original Alien, it perfectly captures the atmosphere of Alien, even down to the bone of not being able to even kill the creature and having to run, hide, scavenge, and create distractions and create tools just to survive this thing. The only thing I would give this shit for would be that its ending. It's more sequel and DLC bait, which is just an absolute shame, because this takes place between Alien 1 and 2. But however, even as a canon game, it's so much better than the piss poor Colonial Marines, even though I don't mind it myself. Alien Isolation is just one of the perfect Alien games, and not only that, it is a good horror game that is reminiscent of games like Dead Space and System Shock 2, which are also, again, great, fantastic horror games. Great. Who's disturbing my video now? Holy shit! Please, get away from me. Please don't hurt me. I'll do anything you say. Halloween's a classic. It fucking sucks. Resurrection for the win. That's the fucking classic. Just please don't hurt me or touch my DVD collection.
Prepare to suffer at the hands of rats.
Oh my... Wait, what? Nah, I still don't get it.
You still can't tell? Look, it's me, Matt.
Nah, I still don't get it.
You know, Matt, your friend.
I'm not an idiot, Matt, I know that, but how are they supposed to know?
Yeah, they should. I've been loads of your stuff.
So are you trying to tell me you've been creeping around my house all day?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You killed Andy, didn't you?
No.
Oh, come on, I know that's bullshit. How do you explain this?
That's just to fuck with you.
Oh. So where the hell is he?
Oh, he's just left. He just got bored.
Bored? Matt, you know me, I'm like the most fun person to be around.
Yeah.
Like Andy's got better things to do than hang out with me.
You could try, maybe ringing him.
Yellow.
Hey Andy, it's Alex. Where the hell have you gone? You've just disappeared.
Yes, I got bored of waiting. You wanted to do a video or something?
Bored? Why?
I've got much better things to do tonight.
You're right, he got bored and left.
I told you.
Well, now we've got that out of the way, would you mind helping me, or are you just going to stand there and do absolutely nothing?
No, I said fuck you. I'm going home in a minute.
Well, why don't I show you the door? Oh, Jesus Christ! Well, that's it, guys. I have gone through everything, and I've literally passed on the horror knowledge that I have to hopefully give you something to watch and play that is truly scary, terrifying and atmospheric on this spooktacular horror-filled night. Thank you guys for watching my Halloween Horrorfest. I hope you enjoyed it, but for now it is Xanderfaulk saying goodbye on this scary ass night. Drop. That'll do.
What kind of sick game is this? Damn you, found footage crap!
I mean, the idea of it getting into your psyche and the... I can't ever get these done, can I, when people are in? Look, we're not moving the camera at all, really. He just wants to be put on the outtakes. It's not happening.
I'll just do it because they'll do that anyway.
Yeah.